I went to my GF's parents for Thanksgiving and it went horribly. We've been dating for over a year and I've met her parents a few times, but just things like dinners. They live 4 hours from us, and this was going to be the first holiday we spent together with her parents, her younger brother and younger sister. We drove down Thanksgiving morning and we're going to spend the night there, then a few days at a resort. Her parents are blue-collar and church-going. I teach high school math. A bit of a cultural difference. My girlfriend made me promise not to get into a discussion with her dad on politics or religion. I was fine with that. I'm not going to change his mind. Her dad never hid the fact that he didn't respect me. He kept making comments about teachers indoctrinating students, Common Core, and other nonsense. No reason to get in a fight. I'm sure that's what he wants. I mostly ignored him, but he never let up. He was a total butt. Everyone was uncomfortable, and her family avoids confrontation with the dad. My girlfriend and her mom tried to change the subject, but they never stood up to him. I was done with his ass and told my girlfriend she could say something or I would be more than happy to. She begged me not to make a scene. So I didn't. I went upstairs, packed up, thanked everyone and left. I told my girlfriend she should stay and get her parents or brother to drive her home. We don't live together. I went on to the resort and enjoyed my weekend. My girlfriend has been trying to apologize, but when I asked what she said to her dad when I left and what he said, she still never confronted him. He never took responsibility. Sounds like he continued to insult me after I left. I've never seen her so avoidant. She's only like that around her dad. Her only solution seems to hope that he'll eventually lighten up. Do I tell her to stop being afraid of her dad? Do I confront him and put him on blast? Or is this a learning experience that we're just not compatible? From the comments, I think it's okay that you left seeing nobody was standing up for you or stopping verbal onslaught. I have a dad like that and those types just don't stop, but it took me to be 35 to go no contact. It's difficult with narcissistic parents. She may never get proper boundaries. You need to make boundaries for yourself going forward so you don't have to endure this again. I am also very confused why she didn't go to the resort with you as planned the rest of the trip. Were you punishing her? OP, she wanted me to stay Thursday night as planned, but I wasn't going to stay under his roof and Elle wasn't going to argue with her. I was pretty mad, so I just drove on and got a room off the interstate for the night. The resort was another 2.5 hours. Update: I appreciated all the comments. A significant number of comments said I shouldn't ask nor expect her to stand up to her dad, so I didn't. I also don't want to break up with her, but we're setting expectations and she can decide if she can live with them. I started by apologizing for leaving her and not continuing our vacation as planned. She also apologized for not leaving with me Thursday night. She wasn't mad I left. She knew I was frustrated with him and the promise I made to her. However, she was hoping things would be better in the morning. She ended up spending the weekend with her family. She wanted to spend time with her brother, sister, and mom. One promising comment she said is they basically ignored and excluded her dad from everything they did that weekend. I asked if her dad physically her or her mom. She was really taken aback by this. She got a little upset at me and said he would never lay a hand on his family. She asked why I'd even ask, and I said her family was so reluctant to stand up to him, even going as far as asking me to promise not to, that I thought they might be afraid he'd react physically. She said that's just how he is, but he's gotten worse the last few years. He thinks his family shouldn't question or criticize him, especially not in his own home. We set clear boundaries. I will never go to his house again if that's his attitude, unless things change drastically. If they want to visit in the future, it will be at my house, or if we get to that point, our house. I won't ignore or defer, though. I asked if she would be okay having little or no contact in the future if his behavior continues. She was very reluctant to promise that and feels he'll eventually change his attitude. I told her she doesn't have to ask him to apologize or even pretend to like me, but it's all in his court and depends completely on how he acts. She won't stand up to him, so I'm taking it out of her hands and doing it myself. I don't care if I never see them again. We're spending Christmas with my family. They absolutely love her and she has a good relationship with my mom. My parents stay close and my girlfriend is becoming my mom's favorite. I think my mom is starting to like her more than me. Our parents haven't met each other. They wouldn't put up with his crap. A lot of people criticize me for my blue-collar, church-going comment. I was trying to stay in the rules of the sub and not discuss politics. What I should have said is he sounds like every other extremist media junkie parent who repeat the same anti-vax, CRT conspiracy nonsense nearly verbatim. Fake Christians who misinterpret the Bible to bully LGBTQ kids and ban books. Is that a better background? I put up with that garbage and personal attacks and didn't respond because my girlfriend specifically asked me not to argue. Plus he wants to play the victim, wants to pretend everyone looks down on him. I can't say yes to my students' parents either. Do I think I'm better than blue-collar workers? No. Do I think I'm better than canon idiots uncritically repeating whatever's been pumped into their brain? Yes, that's where we're at. I understand my girlfriend's family dynamics. I'm not mad at her anymore. I am a little disappointed, not gonna lie. She's a product of her upbringing and unlike to change. Fortunately, she's not like that in the rest of her relationships. From the comments, for what it's worth, some people on Reddit can be overly sensitive about off-the-cuff remarks that are meant to simply paint a picture without a lengthy explanation. I would be careful about progressing any further with her, especially if you want marriage or children. My husband and I both had to cut off contact with our parents after they treated them poorly. The abuse you can handle as an adult dwindles to an absolute minimum when you have a child, as it should. You need to make sure that you and her have a long and most likely painful talk about limits of acceptable behavior, both to each other and if kids are involved. Children are very sensitive and they internalize everything. My 2-year can speak fluent Mandarin, Spanish, and English, and we only speak English at home. He can literally repeat anything he hears, good or bad. If a child can do that with language, imagine what they can do with body language, inappropriate comments, etc. They don't forget easily. I have a good relationship with my parents and we have, I think, healthy boundaries. Hopefully she sees how a functional family works. She probably thinks we're the weirdos. Story 2. My wife told me that she doesn't know if she ever loved me, and I feel like my world is crashing in. My wife and I have been married for 4.5 years. We met in high school and were friends, but didn't date until we were college-aged. We got married pretty young. She was almost 20 and I was 21. My wife is a truly wonderful person. When I first met her, I knew that she was special. She is pretty, witty, funny, incredibly loyal, and easy to get along with. I've never once heard her yell at anybody ever. We have a lot of the same hobbies and interests, and everybody always said that we were a cute couple while we were dating. Shortly after we started dating, I knew that I was deeply in love with her and wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. She made me feel happy, loved, safe, and wanted. Like I said, we got married young. She was 19 and I was 21. Where I'm from, that isn't very young to get married, but to much of the rest of the world, it is. The first few years of our marriage were tough, not because of relationship issues, but because of external factors. For one, her parents openly disapproved of me. I was dealing with an addiction to corn at the time, and they had found out about it. Mind you, I had already talked with my then girlfriend, now wife, about it, and she was very supportive. This disapproval carried on for the first year of our marriage. Another one of the issues from our early marriage was her dad being diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. It was a very aggressive cancer, and it took his life within 1.5 years. Her father was a very good man, and while the process of his dying was incredibly difficult for everybody, it also brought us all closer together as a family, and I finally felt accepted by her parents. After her dad died, we also dealt with several other deaths in both of our families that were really difficult. These years were very hard, but it made our relationship stronger than it had ever been. I loved my wife with every bit of my soul. We were financially broke and living paycheck to paycheck, but I felt like I was where I was supposed to be, and with the person that I was supposed to be with. This brings us to 6 months ago. My younger brother was living in Colorado. Suddenly he gets very ill and he goes to the hospital. Come to find out, he had cancer and had an 8 inches wide tumor in his abdomen that was completely blocking his intestines, and the tumor had caused his appendix to burst. We thought he was going to die. It was a long process, but he made a miraculous recovery and is almost back to full health now. Through this whole process, my wife was right there with me and was able to comfort me like nobody else could because she knew all of the fears that I was experiencing. Her patience and care made me love her even more. This whole time, we have only had 3 or 4 serious arguments, and none of them have ever lasted more than a day. And they had never gotten to the point of either one of us yelling at each other. We both still enjoyed each other's company greatly, and tried to do as much together as we possibly could. I felt that we were truly in love. I began to notice that she started getting gradually more and more physically distant. She wasn't hugging me as much or initiating physical contact of any kind as much, but I just chalked it up to us getting further into our marriage and not needing as much physical contact. She would never turn down physical contact when I initiated it, but it just seemed like she wasn't initiating it as much. This brings us to a couple of weeks ago. We are both lying in bed at the end of a long day talking with each other. We were joking around and just chatting like we usually do at the end of the day. After a bit she goes quiet, and then after a pause asks me if she can tell me something. I say of course, and she then tells me that pretty much her whole life she has known she was bisexual, But she never told anybody because she told her mom when she was young, and her mom said that's impossible, and they never talked about it again. After she told me this, I could tell that she was really nervous to hear my response. I told her that doesn't change the way I think about her in any way at all. That's just who she is, and I love her the way she is. She then asks if it bothers me that she didn't tell me earlier, and I told her that I wish she had told me earlier just so she wouldn't have to stress about me finding out. But as long as she wasn't telling me this because she now wanted to break up so she could explore other options, it didn't bother me at all. She told me she was relieved and that she didn't want to break up, but there was some hesitation in her voice. I asked her if she did still want to be married, and she then told me that she has started to think that we might have gotten married too young for her to know the difference between what it feels like to love somebody as a friend and what romantic love feels like, and that she doesn't know if she loves me romantically or if she just loves me like a best friend. In that moment, it felt like my entire world collapsed. I had just heard the woman that I loved with my whole heart and soul basically tell me that she doesn't know if she ever loved me. My mind went completely numb, and she immediately started apologizing, saying that she never should have said that, and that she should have just held it in to figure out on her own. I told her that I would way rather know than just be living what now feels like a lie. She explained that she thinks that she just has a really bad connection with her emotions, and that she doesn't feel any emotions strongly at all. I told her exactly how I feel about the situation. I told her that my heart is broken, and that it feels like our whole marriage has just been a lie. I know that that's not really a fair way to put it, but that's genuinely how it feels. Truly, I am not mad at her. I believe her. I told her that she needs to start seeing a therapist so that she can figure out her emotions, and that we need to go to a couples therapist so we can work this out. She keeps saying that she wishes she had never said that, and sometimes I wish that she hadn't either. But I can't imagine how awful I would feel if I had found out even later into our marriage about this. I have told her that more than anything, I want her to be brutally honest with me through the rest of this process. If through her therapy she finds that she is not in love with me, I need to know that. If she finds that she is in love with me, I definitely need to know that. I want her to find that she is in love with me. I want that more than anything. But if she isn't, I need to know so that I can figure out how to deal with this. I feel absolutely miserable and utterly depressed. I also am finding it hard to believe that anybody loves me at all anymore. Dealing with this has made me feel deep down that none of my family actually love me, and that none of my friends care either. I am filled with so much self-doubt. Like, what did I do wrong? I can't help but hate myself for letting myself get overweight during our relationship, and I can't help but constantly feel like this whole thing is my fault. I just don't know what to do. I've dealt with depression since high school, but I have never felt worse than I do right now. I haven't told anybody about this, even though I really want to, because most of my friends are also my wife's friends. My wife has her first therapy appointment this week, and we also have our first couples therapy appointment this week. I don't know what the future holds, and I dread finding out. From the comments, deep breath bud. You've been through a lot together. Stop internalizing and talk to the people who have been there for you in the past. OP, you're right. I'm going to talk to some of my friends about it.